Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Chelsea from the MasterClass team. I'm excited to be here today with Annie Leibovitz, who is joining us from her office in New York City for our first live office hours, exclusively for MasterClass students. Annie, thank you so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to get your thoughts. We've received a ton of questions from our students, and we've selected a few of them to join us on video today. Let's go ahead and get started.
That's great. Well, Annie Leibovitz here, and welcome to my office hours. And I just wanted to say in the masterclass that, I have tried to share some of my experiences and lessons I've learned in philosophy and about content and storytelling to help you create images that are really personal and meaningful to you. I'm happy to have this time with you and to try to answer some of your questions. There you go.
Awesome. So our first student today is going to be Miles.
Okay.
And he's just joining right now, so give us 1 second.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Miles. Hi.
Great. Hi, Annie. So the question I'd love to ask you is, when you go into a fresh assignment, how do you balance getting what the client wants and what you really think personally is interesting for you and for your career?
Well, I do want you to know, Miles, I have made some notes on some of these questions, and I might refer to them and scribble back to them. But my first thought when I heard this question was, I don't think that photographers are encouraged enough to do what is interesting to them. So what a client needs and what a photographer wants don't necessarily have to be different things. So, I work primarily with magazines, and magazines are in the business of being interesting. And I listen to editors who have ideas, but at the end of the day, they are pretty happy to have a picture that is engaging, that it may not be what they imagined, but this why they're editors, and you and I are the photographer. And if I come back with something that's interesting and that works, a good editor will be grateful. Sometimes, of course, there are elements of a picture that an editor or an advertising client needs for their own perfectly legitimate reasons, and you have to think about that before you go into the sitting, and you have to figure out, how to make something interesting.
Great. And
okay. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Miles. Our next student is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Annie. Can you hear me okay? Is it working?
I love your question. Go ahead.
Thank you. My question is, do you ever find that you become burnt out or hit a creative block with your photography, and how do you best overcome that?
This is a funny question, only because I've been doing this, obviously for so long, and of course everyone is going to feel at some point, tired or uninspired at times. That's really natural. And honestly, the only answer I have for you is to keep working. And if you keep doing it and it's something that inspired you in the first place, you're probably going to remember why why something inspired you to begin with. Photography has a lot to give. On the other hand, you can have all the talent in the world. I've said this many, many times. You can have all the talent in the world, but you still need to take care of it. You need to feed it. You need to inspire it. You need to, you can look at books. You can look at newspapers. You can go to museums. You can read books. All of this goes into your head. You need to keep feeding whatever talent you have, to keep inspired. And the major thing is to keep working. To keep working. It is like any relationship. There are good times and there are bad times, and you just have to keep going through it. Sometimes the times you think you're at your, when it feels the worst is when some of the most interesting work, comes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That helps a lot.
Okay.
And our next student is Jennifer.
Hi. Oh, okay. Hi.
Hi, Annie.
Can't hear you though.
Hi. You hear me?
Now I can.
Do you? Yeah. Do you always shoot in manual mode, or do you do a few test shots with different ISO numbers, apertures, and shutter speeds?
Well, I pretty much always shoot in manual mode. Sometimes when I'm investigating a location or looking at what I might do, I might have it in a program mode. But most of the times I shoot a lot darker than, than the program mode really will take you to. So you're usually always kind of playing with that anyway, to bring it down, a stop or two anyway than what the program mode is going to give you. So I'm pretty much in manual mode, but there's a lot of latitude now in digital files. And I was just talking to my assistant Mateus, and I said, would you please give me the exactly what the latitude is. There's 11 to 12 stops in 35 millimeter cameras, 11 to 12 stops latitude, and in medium format, there's up to 15 stops. So you can imagine, I really do believe that a lot of work, comes out of sitting in front of the computer. You're in the darkroom, after you finish, taking your photographs. So, I mean, I don't want to, I don't like to count on the idea that I have all that latitude, but it's certainly helpful to know it's there.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Great, and next we have Ben.
Hi, Annie.
I'm going to have a sip of coffee here.
My question is, if you had one lens to choose, which lens would it be and why?
Is this like a desert island question, or? I grew up on, I started when I was young with a 35 millimeter lens, on a 35 millimeter camera. It's, it wasn't the first lens. Honestly, the very first lens was a 50. And I did learn how to make that feel wide and make it feel long, depending on, if you walked up closer to something or walked or, stood back from a subject or an image. Now I really I'm sort of back to working with a 35 millimeter camera and using the 35 millimeter lens and the 58, or you can use an equivalent, what we're calling a normal lens, like a 50 to a 58. I'm using a 58, and they're really they're high end. They're the 35 and the 58 are 1.4 lenses, so that and I've been using kind of those two lenses and been very happy in my 35 millimeter work. I haven't really found a lens that I like in my medium format right now. I used to use a Mamiya, the RZ, and it had a 140 lens, and I loved it, but in the medium format. But I'm not happy right now with any lens in the. I've been really happy going back to the Nikon, not Nikon, but to a 35 millimeter camera and using just a couple lenses. I've been staying away from zooms. They're kind of. I was interested in them for a while, and then I'm back to fixed lenses.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now we will hear from Nick.
Nick?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Annie. How are you? You mentioned that you believe it's not photographer's responsibility to put a subject at ease. I was hoping maybe you could elaborate on that a little bit and maybe share some tips on how to get more authentic expressions.
Well, people, they're either at ease or they aren't. And that's a part of what makes a or can make a photograph, interesting. And, a good portrait is not necessarily looking for a nice picture. And it might be a nice picture and it might not. That being said, I usually do set people at ease just by being direct, being very direct. This is what we're doing. I'm simply there to take the picture, and that's it. There's all kinds of portraits, but the subject usually knows that their portrait is being made in my work anyway. And I'm not standing behind, I've said this before, I'm not standing behind a building with a long lens. We're both in the same room. As for your question about getting an authentic expression, authentic is such a strange word to me. I don't really know. I don't quite know what you mean by that, but I do stand by the idea that even in the most set up situations, it's real. I mean, there's a reality to it. So I think even when someone is uncomfortable, that's authentic. That's interesting. That's all I'm trying to say, is that we're not trying to make something that it could be more interesting that someone is nervous and not at ease. Thank you. Same.
And our next student is Brenda.
Hi.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Annie. Can you hear me or can you see me?
Yes. I'm just looking. Okay. I'm rereading as you read your question. I'm reading your question also. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll read it out loud. So, what tips would you advise or give for taking pictures in a public space for people that might be reticent about having their pictures taken, for example, in a foreign country or at a concert, etc. The second related part is that a shy photographer, an introvert, might be reticent themselves and miss some wonderful opportunities. And how would you, if they're afraid to use their camera, and how would you handle this?
Well, personally, I personally am not comfortable photographing people who do not know I'm taking their photograph. It's not the work that I'm interested in. I have been in journalistic situations where things are happening so fast that there's really not a criteria about if you're photographing someone or not. It's like it's under the auspices of journalism, and it seems to be okay. But in general, I'm not really interested in photographing someone that I don't know something about or haven't learned something about them. As part of your question about being shy, that I don't think that's necessarily an obstacle to getting a picture. Shyness can really be disarming, and it was true for me when I was a young photographer. Not only was I sort of shy, but I didn't really know quite exactly what I was doing. So you need to know that I miss photographs all the time. I mean, it's like, you don't always get the photograph. I remember being on the Rolling Stone tour in 1972, and I was my God, Robert Frank was on that tour photographing the Rolling Stones, and I had the opportunity to watch him work. And, and he turned to me one day and he said, you can't get them all, and I never forgot that. It's really a relief. And, because at the time when I was young, I wanted to get every single picture. You're not going to get every single picture. You're not, it's just not possible. And, there is, that is part of the art of it again, where you need to decide when you're going to take a picture, when you're not going to take a picture. And sometimes you have to sit back and watch a photograph unfold in front of you and not take it for the sake of just being, there, and then hope for the next moment. The other thing is, it doesn't stop. I've said this before. It's nonstop. If you don't get that photograph, you're going to get another one. It's just nonstop. We see photographs all the time. Thank you. So.
Thanks so much.
And now we'll hear from Mark.
Aha.
Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, hi Annie. It's Mark
Hi,
Nixon
Mark.
here.
Oh,
It's Mark.
is that your children on the wall? Are those your-
No, I'm in my studio in
Oh,
Dublin,
yeah.
Ireland.
Beautiful photograph. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can I just tell you, you're my favorite photographer in the whole world.
Oh my
I
God.
think
Okay.
I think you're absolutely amazing. Always have done, and you're the reason I'm a photographer. Anyway,
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
you're very welcome. My question to you is: your lighting always looks so natural under all circumstances. Could you talk maybe a little bit about some of your favorite ways of using additional lighting?
Do you know what's interesting is in the MasterClass there is the Alice Waters shoot, and it sort of shows. Actually, if you go through the MasterClass, it really does say what I do. But I tried to show it in a in the most simplest of ways, which is I rely a lot on natural light, and I use natural light as my teacher. I try to follow the natural light and see what it's doing. And so I'm so amazed about what natural light looks like and what it is. And then I add a single strobe, and what's, you can use a battery powered strobe, and it can either be in an umbrella. They make beautiful umbrellas and beautiful boxes. And I use that as my key light, and I just add a single strobe. Sometimes you may need a fill light, and then it really is about the balance between the ambient light and the strobe. Those are my favorite kinds of pictures, is when I get to mix the natural light with the strobe. If you look at my studio work, I think it's pretty self-evident. It's fairly simple. I'm just looking at that photograph there of the two young children, and that's beautiful. I mean, that's couldn't be more perfect. And you could probably tell me how to take a picture, because I don't think I'm that great in the studio. I really rely on location, and I can tell those children love you. So are they your children, by the way?
No, they were just clients' children. So
yeah, well,
thank
they're
you so
very
much.
beautiful. It's a very beautiful picture. Very beautiful lighting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. And next up, we have Marlena.
Hi, Annie. This is Marlena from Denmark.
Hi. Wow.
Hi.
What time is it there?
It's late in the evening. It's like 7 in the evening.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So my question to you is that I feel like I have like a critical voice in my head that stops me from experimenting and practicing. So my question is, do you have fear or a critical voice in your head that holds you back on your creativity? And if so, what do you do? And especially when you just started.
I think when you're just starting, it's a great time to to push yourself into doing everything you feel like you want to do. I don't know. I think you have the advantage of not having done so much where you're just learning. So so my early work, I just photographed everything and anything that was going on. I just took so many photographs. You're really on the point. It's on the point of being obnoxious. You know what I mean? It really just, obsessed and crazed. And the only way, you don't stop. I don't stop questioning, what I'm doing. I just know from experience that the more you do it, the more you're somewhat more comfortable, but when you're just starting, that's the time just to get out there and photograph, everything you see in front of you. I mean, it's like, I do say that you should start with people who will put up with you, your friends and your family. Those turn out to be very important photographs in a photographer's life anyway. You'll be happy you have those photographs. But No, we're always, you know, sort of second guessing ourselves, but I think you just push your way through, and you know, I still remember, you know, in the days when you had to wait to process your film and then print it, like I couldn't believe it came out. You know, I actually today I still, you know, I went, oh my God, it came out, it works. You know, it's like every day is sort of like starting over for me. But anyway, good luck with your work.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inspiring me.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
And our next student is Dennis.
Hello.
Hello, Annie.
Hi.
This is Dennis. I'm in Northern California, and my question is, what kind of engagement or conversation do you have with your subjects before your photo shoot, or do you simply direct them during the session?
Well, if it's someone I've photographed before, you know, you can kind of imagine what kind of conversation it would be. It would just be sort of, you know, catching up. It is good to have some kind of conversation. I'm not very good at it. I think for myself personally, I realize that, you know, I like to observe. I'm more of an observer than I am, you know, someone who likes to, you know, talk to someone. But you know, you have to be sort of human. You have to talk a little bit. I mean, like what interests you. I think what's important is you're honest and you're not phony. You just be yourself. And you know, some people are more talkative than others. Some people have stories. I think sometimes when you do your homework and you know something about the person, they don't have to be well known. You just know something. You know, it's great to get a subject started. You know, thinking about something that means something to them, and I think, yeah. I'm not very good at these questions.
Thank you, Annie.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's very helpful.
And our final question for the day is coming from Jeffrey.
Hi, Annie. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I'm Jeffrey from Malaysia.
Oh, you made it. That's great.
Yeah. My question is, may I know how to overcome fear, especially when photographing people like a politician, entrepreneur, or famous actors?
I mean, I think being nervous is okay. You know, I don't think it's great to sort of express that to your subject, but I think it's, you know, they're probably nervous too, believe it or not. Honestly, I having done this so long, I don't really think that too many people like to have their picture taken. And even people who are usually in high places, they're going to be nervous, you know, as well. So having your picture taken is stressful. So, you know, I talked a little bit in the previous question about, you know, not being so great about, you know, talking to people. But I did learn that after a while, you're going to have to, there are times you do have to suggest to them, you know, what to do. And that is a little bit of the art of it. And I usually have several ideas, and that usually sets people, I don't think it's my job to set people at ease, but you are going to need the photograph in the long run. So you do want to have a couple of suggestions about, you know, what your subject, you know, might do. Let's see. But, you know, I like both kinds of pictures. You know, you were asking before about, you know, about the subject either looking at the camera or looking away at the camera. But, you know, I like both kinds of imagery. You know, that might even help you when you're working with these high-powered politicians and people that you're photographing. That even a simple direction like look away and then, you know, come back to the camera, that actually is sort of a movement that can you know, keep the sitting going, and there's the photograph of Bruce Springsteen from the back for his album cover, which is his rear end with the baseball cap in the pocket. I used to ask people to turn around and photograph their backs, and they would be so thrown that I would ask them to do that. That it would sort of bring them back around to a little bit more energy. And in this case, Bruce Springsteen used that picture for his album cover, his rear end. And to this day, I never thought it was a very good photograph, but Bruce liked it, his rear end. Okay, does that help? I don't know.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, everyone, that concludes our live office hours today. And Annie, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom. And thanks to all of our students who have also tuned in. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.